Okay, thank you. All right, welcome everybody to tonight's Village Council meeting. We'll call our meeting to order, and it is 7:06 p.m. And I've got a motion moved by Councillor Browning, seconded by Councillor Bellefontaine, that council adopt the agenda of regular meeting RM10-2023 as presented, unless there are any additions or amendments. All right, and as presented, all those in favor? Oh, sorry.
I just wanted to add to the agenda, if you don't mind, Aaron Vervacuum's reports.
Okay, new business?
That would be 11D new business.
Okay, the HR evacuees. All right. With that one change noted. And all those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. Okay, thank you. Motion's carried. Any declarations of interest in this evening's items? Oh, okay, Councillor Hassan.
Thank you. There are two items here I don't know. The first one is the proposed education review. I don't know, I'm the chair of the education board, so I will declare conflict on that. But before I declare conflict, we are a municipal government. I don't know if we have the right to do that or not. That's one. The second one is it's here for evacuees. I have an accommodation business in the community here, so definitely that issue is going to come and people are going to talk about it. So I will declare conflict in those. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? No? All right, that's been noted then. Councillor absences. We were notified by Councillor McPherson that she couldn't be available to come to the meeting. She's out of town. Did Ramona give any notice? No? Okay. Yes.
Should we, what's the procedure for that when a councillor misses so many without, should we reach out to her, like the mayor, is it like just to say, hey, is anything wrong, or what's going on, or?
Yeah, change your mind, or
Yeah.
what's going on? Yeah, we'll get a hold of her, because coming close to where the council doesn't excuse the absence, I think 3 absences in a term, unexcused?
No, 3 absences in a row.
In a row, okay, so this would be number 2. And then the third one,
So just like, just to reach out and see.
maybe you can excuse her without any reason. You can say, well, that's fine. But she's not going to be off the council as of.
No, don't want, of course not.
Yeah.
Who's asking for that?
So we should,
Just reach out, maybe see, maybe something.
yeah, but definitely if if there's been a change and she's unable to participate, it's a loss for the council and the community. So I mean, it's certainly not really fair to not come if you've got other issues but you're not letting us know either.
But if there's a reason why she's not showing up, or if she has changed her mind and no longer wants her seat, then we can also pursue it,
There's other
right?
options, yeah.
Yeah, so just reach out and see where she stands on it.
Sure. Okay, well, with that, we'll talk to her, see what's going on there. But for now, we do have Councillor McPherson. Anybody want to put the other councillor's name down there, or no? Leave it as is? Okay. So motion moved by Councillor Bellefontaine, seconded by Councillor Browning, that council excuse Councillor McPherson from regular meeting RM10-2023. All those in favor? 6 to 3, none against, motion carried. And no delegations tonight. Adoption of minutes, we have 2 sets. First, I have a motion moved by Councillor Bellefontaine, seconded by Councillor Browning, that council approve the minutes of regular meeting RM 2023 of April the 3rd, 2023. Any comments or changes that need to be made for the council notice? So if not, then as presented, all those in favor, adopting those motions, approving them, 6 in favor, none against, motion carried. Second set, motion moved by Councillor Bellefontaine, seconded by Councillor Hassan, that council approve the minutes of regular meeting RM08-2023 of April the 17th, 2023. Any changes, errors? Okay, as presented then again, all those in favor? 6 in favor, none against. Motion is carried. Number 8, mayor's report. I don't have a report. SAO report.
Just a couple of things, Your Worship. Our spring cleanup is scheduled for May, Cheyenne, what was that date?
May
29th. The cleanup and barbecue, if any councillors wish to volunteer for that, be it cooking or otherwise, please let us know and we'll.
May 29th is a
Friday? Monday.
Monday. How come it changed?
Isn't it during the afternoon too, or is it in the evening?
It's during the afternoon, and
Yes.
that's so,
Kids.
we'll try this year, we'll see how it goes to have businesses, village staff and schools involved. And so that's why it's in the afternoon.
Okay, because I always thought it worked wonderful on the Saturday and it got everybody out, right? Not just relying on the school because they're in school to pick up the majority of the garbage. We'll see. Yeah.
Our new pool supervisor arrived in town on Friday. She started work today. We hope to get that pool open and used as soon as possible. We're excited for a successful pool season this year. We also have a new bud officer. And we'll be bringing him along to a council meeting in the near future to get signed sworn in. That's all I have for today, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for the SAO on those subjects? Yes, Councillor Wright?
The pool supervisor, we're renting a place for her or just refunding her some money?
We pay a combination.
Okay, or is the accommodation?
In the letter.
They can't use the apartment no more, it's done? Is it like that old apartment that's?
On top of the library?
Yeah.
We have someone else there.
Oh, okay, okay. Okay, I have one more question.
Sure.
Your pool, is there just like, so she's gonna be the one responsible all summer and for the hires and for the volunteers and all of that? Because I know last year was a bit of a nightmare with, right?
This year, we're in a good position because our new programming coordinator is also a lifeguard.
Yay, oh yes, that's right, too.
Yeah, so I have high hopes that this will be a much smoother year than last year.
And moving along then, there's no other questions. Tabled items and old business, we don't have any tonight.
No mayor's report, sorry.
No mayor's
Oh,
report.
okay.
No committee minutes or recommendations under item 10. Under new business, we have 4 items. First one is the NVTAC resolution, which is a motion moved by Councillor Wright and seconded by Deputy Mayor Etzel. The council forward the proposed resolution to the NVT Association of Communities, and it's a resolution to increase the NTPC net metering capacity in all communities in the Northwest Territories, because now there are limits as to how many solar panels we can have in a community that are tied back into the system where you sell back your power in excess.
I think there's always been limits, it's just
Yeah.
wasn't.
So how did this resolution, let's say, come to the floor of the council, is my question, I guess? Was this partly a recommendation from our, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
You
so,
remember?
Was I?
yeah,
I do remember.
if you remember, it came up for discussion.
Yeah,
And we had left it previously with myself and our community energy champion to come up with proposed wording.
right.
So that's what I worked with Arctic Energy Alliance to come up with that resolution. I've sent it to TSE for comments. And so tomorrow I should hear back if they have any suggestions for amendments or otherwise. If council are happy with that, we'll move forward and ask them to add that to the list of resolutions.
Okay. So any discussion on that, or is everybody okay with that? Then,
Can you read out the wording?
yeah, it's kind of long. I'll do it though. So this resolution to increase NTPC net metering capacity in all communities in the Northwest Territories. That's the resolution. And then afterward it says, whereas the utilization of renewable energy sources is crucial for reducing greenhouse gas emissions and mitigating the impacts of climate change, whereas the NTPC offers a net metering program that enables customers to generate their own renewable energy and receive credit for any surplus electricity produced, whereas net metering allows individuals, businesses, and communities to contribute to the local power grid, enhancing the overall resilience and reliability of the electrical system, whereas expanding the net metering capacity will encourage widespread adoption of renewable energy technologies, fostering sustainable development and supporting local economies, whereas numerous communities in the NWT have expressed interest in increasing the NTPC net metering capacity to meet the growing demand for renewable energy generation, whereas the NWT Association of Communities plays a crucial role in advocating for the needs and interests of its member communities and has the ability to engage with relevant stakeholders, including the NTPC, to drive positive change. Therefore, be it resolved that the Village of Fort Simpson urges the NWT Association of Communities to advocate for and take the necessary steps to increase the net metering capacity in all communities throughout the NWT. Furthermore, be it resolved that the NWT Association of Communities is requested to, number one, strongly advocate for the increase of NTPC net metering capacity in all communities across the NWT. Number two, urge the NWT Power Corp to expedite the process of expanding net metering capacity and to provide adequate resources for the implementation and management of the program. Number three, encourage the NTPC to collaborate with local governments, renewable energy organizations, and community stakeholders to identify and address any barriers or challenges hindering the widespread adoption of net metering systems. Number four, request the NWT government to allocate sufficient funding and incentives to support the installation of renewable energy systems and facilitate the expansion of net metering capacity. Number five, call upon NTPC to regularly review and update the net metering program, ensuring its effectiveness and responsiveness to changing technological advancements and community needs. Number six, transmit a copy of this resolution to the NWT Power Corp, the NWT government, local indigenous governments, neighboring municipalities, and other relevant stakeholders. The Municipal Council of the Village of Fort Simpson hereby endorses this resolution and requests the NWT Association of Communities to prioritize its implementation for the benefit of all communities in the Northwest Territories. That's the full thing. Everybody good?
Sorry, read it one more time.
Yeah.
I missed the first comment, I think.
Okay. Votes in favor then. All those in favor? Okay, 5. Les, you're in favor? 6, okay. So that's adopted. We'll move that along to the NWT Association of Communities, hopefully for adoption at their AGM. And The next one is the proposed education review. Now, we have information. Juan, if you want to step out for a minute, we can call you back as soon as this one's done. Okay, so it's information.
I don't think
I don't
I
have the
don't think there's
information
any
in here.
information in the package on this.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's, you want to talk about it though?
If I may.
Yes, go ahead.
So typically, the village hasn't been involved in education in any way, so far as I know. This is something that I've heard from a lot of community members and parents throughout town that there's a problem with the education system. The schools have been, some may agree, some may disagree, but I think there's a strong agreement that the schools have been going downhill for a number of years. And the children here aren't getting the education that they deserve and that they should be. What I've proposed is, and I have more information on an actual contract, or what that might look like to be discussed in camera. But in general terms, what I'm proposing is that we hire consultants to do a review, which will consist of interviewing everyone involved in the education system, such as the board of trustees, DDEC administration, principals, teachers, past teachers, students, parents, community members, and anyone else that's involved in the education system. The goal of this review would be to come up with independent recommendations for government, for DDEC administration, for schools, for school policies, for DEA, and really a list of any kind of recommendations that may be used to benefit, to improve the education system in the community. My hope is that coming from the community, i.e. the village, and hopefully with support from the BT and LKFN, that this review and its recommendations will carry a lot of weight. And I hope that something good can come out of it and some improvements can be made.
Okay. So you're gonna talk a little more about that in 15C, the details of which.
That's correct.
Does anybody have any comments on this so far? Yeah, go ahead.
I'm a bit confused on, I thought it was maybe government's doing an education review or something, so you're proposing that we do the education review, the village.
That's correct.
Is that within our mandate or within our, I feel like it
does tie in with community planning
how?
because it's a big, the education of our children specifically affects how families, there's a number of families, including myself, who are leaving and have left because the schooling isn't good enough here. And so it ties in with planning to keeping families in the community. It benefits our economy. There are all kinds of recommendations they come up. One of which may be for like short-term and long-term. In the long term, my personal feeling, and a lot of people may agree, disagree, my personal feeling is when it's time to build a new school, one school will be built for K-12, because having kindergartners in grades 7, 8, 9, 10, and 12 together in the same school, kindergartners tend to balance out a certain level of apathy and it creates a better environment.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
so this is one example of a recommendation that may or may not come out of this review. But something like that would directly affect our community plan, because we need to decide where the school will be built and what it would look like. So it's not directly, it wouldn't be directly under our mandate, but I think that it ties in with community planning, and it wouldn't be completely unreasonable to consider, especially seeing as it's so important to our community. I think that if the government were going to do this and pay for it, that would be great. I think the chances of that happening are slim, and if it did happen, they'd be more likely to look at the Northwest Territories as a whole or the region as a whole, and they wouldn't be focused on our community. If I thought if there was any other way of doing it without being through the village, then that's the route I prefer to go, but I don't think it'll happen if the village or LTFN or the PG don't do it.
Yep, Councilor Fontaine.
Yeah, I think as long as this is something that falls within the scope of what we're allowed to do, I mean, obviously we couldn't just, without consulting the school, send people into to do a review. But I think, to me, I think the situation is pretty bad in Fort Simpson. If we look at attendance rates alone, I mean, I've talked about it many times, but it's really, really bad. Like, I don't even know how to make it any more clear to people how bad attendance is here. Literacy rates, terrible. You know, 80% of children in the junior high and high school cannot write at grade level. Like, a lot of these kids can't read at grade level. So it's dire. Things are really bad. I've talked before at council meetings about maybe doing an attendance award so that kids that are going to school, we break it down into 3 months. And if the kids go to school 95% of the time, if they're in class, give them a $100 bill. And people say, well, that could be expensive. Who cares? I mean, it's the future of the community. If right now kids are not graduating, if you look at the number of kids that graduate each year, it's been going down and down. If we have no kids graduating and kids can't get jobs, what is the future of the community? You know, like, if we're talking about kids that grow up here, if this is their option for school and things aren't happening, as a community, we really have to do better. Because, I mean, you're looking at people that can't even fill a form, can't fill an application to get income assistance. They don't know how to do it. And a lot of times with government, I know I've helped people call to do their taxes and get information. And when you call that number, the person will ask you questions. And if they get confused, I've been on the phone with people and they say, well, where are you from? And they say Fort Simpson. And the person said, no, that's not what we have. And they had moved here from another community, but they weren't able to communicate that. So the person hung up on them. They said, you're not answering your questions, I have to let you go. And they kept calling. So we need to do better, help people get skills so they can live their life, you know, and have quality of life, get jobs. So to me, it does fall under the village's concern, because I'm concerned as a member of the community that, what is it going to look like for us when we're older, when we're going into long-term care? If you're saying you're new to long-term care, are there going to be any workers to look after us? Are there going to be any doctors or nurses coming here? You know, we're losing families, or population will go down. So I think it is important. I'd like to see this, and I'd like to see something like the attendance awards go into place. And there's also one, clocks for kids. Give the kids a clock, teach them how to use it. They can set their own alarm, whether parents are waking them up or not. It's just little ideas. We got to start thinking of things that we can do to try to help. You know, instead of just pointing out all the problems, we got to start doing. It's just my opinion.
Go ahead, Councilor Brown.
I would like more information on it. I think there's more to our education system than just children's attendance and parents not getting their kids to school. I think it's way more than that. I think an education review could be a good idea. I just don't know if we're the ones to do it and how would we be received to do it. I mean, Moz just declared conflict, and Matt, you're on the education board. Should he have declared conflict? Should have Almonte?
I don't believe it's a conflict.
Okay, yeah, I was wondering why Moz left then.
Yeah, I think maybe it's more of a bias for him, but when it comes to our kids, I don't think.
Okay, so I was
You
just
represent the
wondering.
village on there anyway.
Oh, is that what happened? Is that how you're on there? Because you represent the village? Okay, I wasn't sure. And I think we need to figure out a way to do this or get somebody else to do it. I really don't wonder if it's our mandate to do it, or maybe like approach LKFN, approach the Métis to see if that's something they would be willing to take on. And maybe we can like offer in-kind support, because I really think as a village, our role isn't to do education reviews.
We could probably be doing things like getting some feedback from residents as to like what concerns do they have about education, but it should be like with an eye to lobbying for things to change. But if we're conducting these kind of forensics on government departments, I don't think it's gonna be that well received, for one thing. And it's probably not gonna be working. It's gonna be thwarted by the government itself. They probably will ban their own employees from talking. Because, they can't control anything then, and it's just, although we can get feedback from parents and everything else, like right now, it just seems to me everybody's sort of looking around for a way to fix something they know is broken, hasn't been working that well, seems to be getting a little worse. We're having feasts and gatherings and things, but it's all an attempt to try bring attention to the problem more than having any specific solutions. So we're on to something as a community. We know there's issues and problems, but paying for the review using Village, I really wouldn't want to do it totally on our own. I'd want to do it as a friendly review, perhaps with territorial government in partnership with the band and the Métis, if that could, because the school can't very well do a review outside of the school either. They can't go into parents' houses, for example, right? They don't usually go outside of their own institution when they do a study on themselves. And they do periodic reviews and things like that. So there's a broken link, right? We know it is a whole community problem. And there's things that happen in our community and the school, and maybe together we could figure it all out. But one review by one group or another may not be enough to get at the issue and get a consensus from the community as to what we need to do either. It's a difficult thing, right? I appreciate the fact that our SAO proposes a possible investigation to come up with solutions, but we need a little more information as to where that would go and how that would be received by the community and by the education department itself. And maybe there are some areas that we can get into with the community. We could lobby the education department itself to do more of this looking. Right now, it's a little bit like they're trying to. I mean, they're trying different things. They're trying to change the curriculum, and they're perfectly aware of the issues and problems, I think. Maybe they haven't developed all the solutions, but together there's got to be some better answers. That's just a few thoughts there. Yeah, Councilor Wright?
Maybe we could get the DEA to start posting the attendance rates and, the, where the kids are at on the grade levels. If you say half of them can't fill out applications for government funding or whatever, let's let everybody know so that we know there's a problem, not just in here. There's only one person here today.
I think it's, what I was picturing is more of a collaborative sort of thing, not that the village is gonna go in and review the school and the teachers and say, you guys are good. I mean, I think.
Or good.
Yeah, but I mean, I think it needs to be a collaborative thing where all the people that are interested, I think the DEC, the DEA, the parents, the teachers, I think everybody knows things are not good right now. Whatever that is, whether it's too many TikTok videos and kids doing the Tide Pod challenge, or some of these crazy things that kids are fight clubs in the bathroom. There's some crazy stuff going on. But I think if everybody is actually interested in fixing the problem, if people were to come together and collaborate and come up with ideas and have an independent review where somebody comes in that has no biases, they're just coming in, they're looking at what what happens in our community. They can talk to parents that are interested, they can talk to students that are interested, teachers. I can see that maybe the government wouldn't want to have people talking and have their words used against them later, but I think if people are actually wanting change, and this is something that we're coming up with as an idea, why not give it a try? Like, you know, and maybe we won't, I don't know if it's our place to pay for it, but I think we can definitely advocate for it and say that this is something we want some solution. And unless we can come up with something better, I think it's a start to find out where we sit right now.
Yeah, Councilor Brown?
Or since Councilor Bellefontaine is our rep on the DEA, maybe we advocate through him that the education do their own review. And they pay for it, and they bring in an independent person instead of the village or Indigenous government.
I think if the band, Métis,
Yeah.
if we're all supporting it, and we say to the
We need
minister,
an education review, yes, we need an education review, and we advocate for it instead of us taking that on. Because honestly, we should be above dogs, bitches, or whatever, not. I think we assist with that. I think we assist with it and we advocate for it, like through our DEA rep, this is what we want, this is what the village wants, is an education review and education to pay for it.
Yeah.
Because you can't always blame the parents, and you can't always blame the kids, and you can't blame the kids for TikTok challenges, for fight clubs in the school, because that stuff's been happening for a long, long time, not just in the last little while, and not in just this school. Our kids aren't always the issue, and our families aren't always the issue. So if we can get education to pay for an education review, I think that would be great.
Any other thoughts on that? Okay, well, let's just hold off on that then for now.
Hold off or make a,
Let's
let's
get
make a motion,
education.
because it's on our agenda, right? So are we gonna just,
Do you want to advocate then for the independent review in partnership, or, like participating groups would be the three governments?
If I may, there is more information in camera.
okay.
So if everyone's happy to wait till our in-camera session and possibly make a motion afterwards.
Okay. Sounds good. Yeah, that's, all right, let's go on to,
Do you want to get Ross?
oh yeah. Go back in there. What? Yeah. Okay, come back in. So we have, under item 11C, an updated 5-year capital plan, and we have a resolution to go with that. Motion moved by Councillor Hardesty, seconded by Councillor Bellefontaine, that council approve the amended 2023 to 2027 5-year capital plan in the amount of $15,513. S.A. O'Corrigan, can you just point out what that change is,
Absolutely.
or changes that resulted in?
So a few changes, the flush truck, new flush truck, we got a more accurate price and that went up to 750,000.
Oh, that's 15 million.
Yeah, it's like 15,000.
And why are we even talking about it? No, that's 15,513,223. Yeah.
The resolution. Yeah. So the flush truck is, the price went up to 750,000 for that. Previously it was just an estimate. We've added road improvements. So in the past, we tend to spend quite a bit of money on gravel every year. And what tends to happen is it comes out of operations, and then any remaining gravel is recorded as inventory at the end of the year. So what we're doing here is basically moving some of that gravel onto our capital plan, so we can use capital dollars for that, and free up dollars on our operations. And also we will incorporate that some new signage, a couple new culverts, and those kinds of road upgrades that will be used this summer. We've included the riverbank stabilization, and that's the dollar figure we've added there is just for the funding application and any planning work that needs to be done with that. Splash Park, added 100,000, which is funding that we still have available for that project. We're hoping to get that all spent this year.
How do you want to use it?
Some of it will be for the holdback, for a company that's already done all the work.
Okay, yeah.
And the other main project we're looking at is rubber flooring for all around the splash park and playground.
Nice, that'd be nice.
I've added economic development strategy. And this is something that council had previously made a motion to go ahead with, and it fell off the radar. So I've added it back to the capital plan with the hopes of moving forward with that. It's a project that Canada has indicated that they'll pay 100% of the cost. So we're hoping to get moving on that.
The cemetery upgrades new as well?
Cemetery upgrades, we had it on the capital plan previously. We did purchase a new fence last year and that we will be installing this summer. Some of the dollars we've spent in the past have been for the gazebo. And so we'd like to continue those upgrades next year for some work on some of the graves with like adding fill with the permission of families, obviously. And we'd like to create some walkways between graves and possibly paved stones, a new fire pit, and continue the fencing.
Nice.
I've also added some dollars in there for library infrastructure, such as shelving, furniture.
I just saw that picture of that library. She's done great work.
She has. She's really good. So we got some dollars for that. We don't have a dollar figure in here, but I left the item on the capital plan just because it's something that we're investigating and may come back to council with a proposal on. But for now, there has been a request to do some work and expand the training room. I will come back with some more information on that later. Our distribution infrastructure is new. There's quite a bit of work that needs to be done that's being put off for a number of years. I don't have the exact details, but there's a couple of circ pumps that need to be replaced, some piping that needs to be replaced, some work at the water treatment plant where the water leaves the plant, and there's the distribution system there. So that's the plan for that work. And I think that's all the changes.
All right, any questions? All right, so once again, that motion reads that council approved the amended 2023-2027 five-year capital plan in the amount of $15,513,223. So that's the total capital budget over the 5 years is what it is. Some changes as Kevin noted. All those in favor? 6 in favor, none against. Motion's carried. Okay, yeah, another item that Councilor Hassan had a conflict. So got the Hay River evacuees. And, yeah, I mean, the order of things, like what happened here is, I got notified there this morning that there are some requests from, at least 2 families who had had individuals show up last night. I guess they drove from Hay River when the state of emergency was declared, came back to Fort Simpson, and they were across the ferry this morning. I think it was 5 vehicles and an RV that came from Hay River, planning to stay with family, but, in the middle of the night, you just scramble and go wherever you think is the best place for you to go. Now the families are saying, well, we don't quite have the room for them. Is there any way we can put them up somewhere? And I said, well, we'll see what council thinks about that. And so we did that little email around just to see if till tomorrow, what could we do? And we agreed to put a few of these people up in a hotel room if they indicated they needed one, until they could get a better grip on what's happening back in their home community, and perhaps also what is the village actually willing to do, if anything. Because the people that were told to leave Hay River, the evacuation order was to go to Yellowknife, and some showed up here. Now, that's where we're at, and yeah, S.A. Corrigan, go ahead.
Just so we're clear, we haven't spent any money on accommodation as of yet. I wasn't able to connect with all the evacuees that are here. The ones I did connect with have something temporarily in place for today, for tonight. I don't know what they're doing tonight. One of them is an elderly person who would need a hotel room. It's just for information. Some of them, I'm sure if we decided to set up an evacuation center, like the recreation center, some of them I believe would be interested in staying on the Cox and Gymnasium to pay for it.
Okay, anybody have any comments about that?
So you use no rooms? Yeah.
The village hasn't paid for any rooms.
Okay. I'm wondering if the local, like, if establishments are willing to give deals. I know I've seen some on the evacuation page for Hay River that local people were, or the hotel, I think there's one in Yellowknife and Smith that they were offering $44 per night if it came out of the person's own pocket. So that concerns me how much we would be charged and if we would shop around, not just use our local hotel, but just look for the best price. And if the local hotel is the best price, use that, but I think we need to shop around. I also wonder what's our role, like you know what I mean? Like what's our role in it, and if we get any reimbursements for putting people in hotel rooms, because, yeah, where would that come out of from our budget?
Your worship, if I may.
Yeah, go ahead.
We would take it out of either the council budget or donation budget. We don't, I haven't asked them, but I can tell you now that they won't reimburse us for anything.
Yeah.
If the evacuees were evacuated to Yellowknife, which is the host community, if they registered there at the evacuation center, they can stay there, they'll be taken care of with meals. Anyone who doesn't go there won't be supported by the village. The best of them.
Are those did they come with four families? I'm just wondering if they're LKFN members or Métis local, because sometimes they will assist their membership with that stuff.
I don't know where their membership lies, but so far as I know, they have reached out for assistance. And haven't done anything yet.
Would it also be possible to reach out to Red Cross for assistance for these families? Is that a possibility?
Absolutely.
So I think that's something that we should look at. I mean, I am in support of this, considering that the entire territory came together for this community. And went through our, devastating flood a couple of seasons ago. We should be supportive of other communities, especially close to home. But I think another avenue would be to reach out to Red Cross and see if they can provide assistance for these families.
Yeah. I mean, the thing that bothers me a bit about the whole evacuation is that nothing seems to have been learned from previous ones. Unfortunately for Hay River, everybody scrambled out of there at around midnight, told to just hit the highway and get to Yellowknife, which always seems to be the default. You can't go anywhere else. Let's make sure you get to Yellowknife so Yellowknife businesses can somehow benefit. Even the city of Yellowknife could charge for that arena. They're not doing that for free, right? People who have different needs, like the elderly woman that showed up here, she may be just not able to stay in an arena with cots on the floor. Families with young children may not be able to do that either. In Alberta, if you get evacuated or there's a state of emergency, you get to the next community, you get a preloaded debit card. So at least in the immediate aftermath, you're able to access cash if you need it. You don't have to go through any kind of means testing, you just get it automatically. The federal government pays for this thing ultimately. It's not, as people kind of are told sometimes by the territorial government, that we can't afford it. No, what you can't do is tell people things that aren't true. And there are no limits on assistance that the federal government would be willing to do as long as it's reasonable. But for some reason, we still sit with a disaster assistance policy that's half in total payout of what Alberta is. You tell me if it's cheaper to build a house in Alberta or the Northern Territories. But they get 500,000, we get 250. And only after we, as guinea pigs in Fort Simpson, had to go through a flood and be paid out at 100 per business or household, and see how little that actually helped. Ultimately people had to take a lot of losses here in Fort Simpson. So to me, this is a chintzy government that doesn't help much in the event of an emergency. They put all the blame on the victims themselves, expect people to somehow absorb that all personally, and forget that they've been collecting taxes off people for their whole lives. You don't want to take any responsibility for anything here, and I don't like it. I think that that's not what the territory is all about. I think we should step up and help out a little bit. I'm not saying unlimited help forever, but I think we should probably put a few people up that are related to people here and are actually needing help. That's not a huge ask. That's a rather minor ask. I think that the option of coming to Fort Simpson should have been laid on the table, because they know that there are people living in Hay River or working who have close ties to other communities. Why couldn't it the option been there to evacuate maybe to Fort Smith or to Fort Simpson? It's always just Yellowknife or nothing else. And that just doesn't seem right. There's no concern for the people. In Hay River, they first evacuated them to Hay River, and then they told them to get out. They barely got settled, and they had to get to Yellowknife. Dogs were left behind on the reserve. They were swimming across the river, I heard. That's the picture that I got. Because again, MACA won't do anything for dogs. Is it leave your dogs to burn? But this is not really the way you handle emergencies, with no zero disregard for the people themselves. I'm sorry, but that's the way I feel. I think it's time that people started caring a little bit more about people's welfare around this place. Okay, Councillor Brown.
I take offense to that last comment. I do care about people's welfare.
I didn't say that. I think
and I also think, like, sometimes unless we're willing to do a resolution for like the municipal AGM, that that doesn't do us any good, just going on about what the government cannot do, unless we're gonna back it with a resolution or something. I put up, I think, a couple nights. I say a couple nights. But I also think you need to shop around. You need to check the different places in town that offer it, not just.
Okay.
And
Yeah. Do you think we
Did
should?
you know how much for how long? And how many rooms? Because we don't want it to be. We're not gonna get comfortable, eh? Just kidding, I don't know how to say that nicely.
Yeah, well, if Hay River burned, then some of these people could end up staying inside for a long time.
Yeah,
Does it mean that the government wouldn't change their mind and
They
let
might
people
later on.
come closer to communities where they have more social supports? In Yellowknife, I think the reason people would come here is because they have no social support. They just have the rec center and a cot. They don't know anybody, it's for their own welfare. They're thinking like, what's the best place for me?
Question, did the village pay for our evacuees hotels when they went to Yellowknife? Or when we got evacuated during our flood, did the village pay for our residents to go to hotels?
No.
That speaks volumes as well.
I think,
Councilor Bellefontaine?
I think too, we do have a shelter here, and it might seem kind of rude to say, well, I don't need to deal with this, but you can stay in our shelter. But it is where we have other people staying, it is available. I'm not sure, we have to check with Pam what capacity is right now, but it is a place to go. They do have showers there. I know that there used to be separate sections, like there was a second section for women to stay on, but it's kind of become a living room and another bathroom and stuff over there. But I think that's a possibility to accommodate some people, and it's something we already have. And the funding is for anybody. It's not just for people from Fort Simpson. So I think if people can go there, then I think that can be an option. And we can probably, I don't know if we still have any of the cots from our flood. I think someone went missing or something, but if we had something like that, I think maybe that could be an option. But I know in the heat of the moment when something's just happened, I think maybe if we had a hotel room for the night or for 2 nights, so that gives people time to situate themselves and prepare. If they want to change their mind and go to Yellowknife and make arrangements, they could do that, or they could choose the option we have. Because hotels, we couldn't do it long term, so there would have to be,
capacity for that.
and there would have to be end at some point. So I think even if we did that and we say for now, for 1 night or 2 nights, whatever, and then after that, here's the other options we have. If it doesn't suit them, then we might have to go to Yellowknife where. But it's just.
Councilor Ray?
I don't think we should be setting that precedent, like giving everybody hotel rooms, because they're just gonna decide to come here instead of Yellowknife. Yellowknife is the safest place to go, right? That there's no fires in Yellowknife, there's no chance of fire wiping through Yellowknife. On my way over, I stopped to grab coffee, and there's a couple of evacuees in there, and they said, "Oh my God, it's expensive here," right? Like at the store. They're gonna find, right? They're gonna get here, and that's gonna be their takeaways.
Well,
Since it was expensive.
But you do say like the safest place to bring them where there is no fire, but yet they took the people from Catlodici and put them in Hay River.
Yeah,
There was
but
a
that's
giant
not our
fire
issue.
right across the river.
Yeah,
So when
That
they
was
evacuate
that was a
people-
let's do something right now solution.
Yeah,
Right.
and 5 hours later, they were evacuating them to Yellowknife, which is hundreds of miles away, right?
So I think our discussion should remain around what we as the village can do and not what, like you said, the territorial government can or cannot do. I'm just wondering, do we know how many evacuees have come here, how many families have come here? Because it's also a difference whether, it's 2 families and 2 nights versus whether it's, all of a sudden now it's 15 rooms for 2 nights. That's a big difference. I think of, if there's only a couple of families, like we've got the gym, we've got the arena, we've got dressing rooms that have showers and doors that, they can have privacy in the change rooms. We've got access to maybe discuss with Open Doors to provide these things for children upstairs in that same facility. I just think that the funding from the village can be better used than just to pay for hotel rooms for evacuees. perhaps bring them all together, have Mary Jane and Gilbert do a welcoming, a prayer, something ceremony with them, get a caterer to kind of lift their spirits. I think throwing them in a hotel room and saying, fend for yourselves isn't speaking the way that we as a village can speak, where we can bring people together and we can find a purpose and find, some supports for them locally. And then maybe through networking at a function like that or an event like that, things will come up, things will open up. People will see that, perhaps there is somewhere in someone's basement that they have, maybe someone's away for the season and their house is vacant. Like it takes conversation for these options to present themselves. And I don't think jumping to a hotel room is the answer at this time. I understand, again, people are reactionary and people want to do things now because it's in the heat of the moment and we've got a lot of passion and empathy. However, again, I do think that we need to think about this because we are setting a precedent, and maybe next year, Hay River, fingers crossed, maybe it does flood or they go through another evacuation or someone else, Nahanni Butte, for example, then they come here and everyone's going to be expecting a hotel room because that's what we did. But keeping in mind, we as the village, I wasn't here, but we as the village didn't even do that for our own evacuees. So I think that the precedent that we're setting really needs to be thought out. And I don't think I am in support of providing hotel rooms at this time.
Councilor Bellefontaine?
As you were speaking, I was thinking about what other ways we could do it. I'm wondering if it might be cheaper, and if it's possible, that people were supposed to be Yellowknife, they came here. Is there a way we can help them get to Yellowknife? And maybe that's cheaper than paying for hotels if we gave them gas money. I mean, if you left, if you left at midnight from Hay River, you might not want to drive to Yellowknife. If you've been awake all day, you might find that difficult. So maybe people came here, but maybe that's an option. I think putting them in the rec center, there could be issues with, if people are staying there, you can't tell them they have to come in and stay in at a certain time. So if people are coming and going, well, but I mean, people will come and go as they please. And if they want to bring people in, I think we could only say no, but will the staff feel comfortable telling them not to come in? If people have been drinking, should the staff have the skills to deal with someone who is going to be drinking and becomes belligerent, and how are they going to deal with that? There's a lot of things that could be problems, but I don't know. I think it is good to look at options. It is kind of a quick solution to say put them in a hotel.
I was thinking too, should we consider maybe reaching out to LKFN? Does NOAA still have that camp up on the hill at the NOAA?
I think so. They were getting it ready for us for the flood.
Right. So I mean,
That might be a better.
There's another possibility right there, and then the cost isn't directly on us, right? Another thing, we could maybe possibly donate campsites at the campground if they wish to, if anybody wishes to stay down there.
Yeah, the one older lady who's 80, I mean, there should be something done.
Does she have family there?
She does.
Oh.
But
I think we should reach out to LKFN and kind of work together and just provide any kind of support that we possibly can.
yeah, I like the idea of doing more for them, than just a hotel room, or maybe that's not even the best. And if you have a bunch of kids, you probably aren't going to like a hotel room that much. And if it turns into a week instead of 2 days, I hope Hay River gets by this and it all turns out to be a really close call for them. And the residents can head back home here in a couple of days. But it does bring up an issue, I think, and, Councilor Browning said it well there, that we could sit around talking about it all day, but we probably should be passing a resolution asking the territorial government to look at, when they declare an emergency, having alternate facilities for people to go to, right? The North, we're all related, and people come from many of the different outlying communities, and to be forced to one with no choice just seems a little bit authoritarian, right? Just for the convenience, I would say, of certain emergency planning personnel, where it has no bearing on, how much good that is for the people themselves. There's no extra cost, I don't think, in having a couple of 2 or 3 evacuation points. It may be even better than putting all your eggs in one basket kind of thing. I mean, imagine if everyone really had to go from Hay River, 3,000 people, you telling me there's enough room in Hay River to take 3,000 people? I don't think so, but that's what they said. I'd be interested to know how many people really left Hay River. Even though that was a general evacuation, it just doesn't, some things don't make sense. We don't have all the information, right? Everything's pretty closed off right now. But I'd also like to take a look at passing a resolution asking the territorial government to make another change to their disaster assistance policy and to basically match what Alberta gives in monetary compensation to people who are faced with major catastrophe. Because all this money does come from Ottawa. 95% of it gets reimbursed by the federal government. It's just a cash flow issue with the territorial government having to go out and pay it up front. But it makes more sense, otherwise economically, no one here should build a house worth more than $250. Nobody should invest in a business that's worth more than $250. Because if a fire comes or a flood, then you could lose anything above that amount. And really, it was just Hay River, you know, the imminent flood in Hay River that drove up the disaster assistance to $250. I can't remember, but I think it upped after the flood, not before.
So could I propose that you would make a motion to do the, like, so.
Yeah, like we could maybe pass a resolution asking for two things, right, related to disaster assistance policies for the whole Northwest Territories, not just for Fort Simpson. But one is that, you know, in an emergency, you know, there should be some pre-planning to allow for the fact that people may show up in different communities and there should be different designated evacuation points. Usually this means, like, you know, there's a muster point, people get away from, let's say it was Hay River, they could have gone to Enterprise, and based on their best scenario, they could have been told, look, you know, you should just go to Yellowknife. Most people should go to Yellowknife, but occasionally, oh, you would be much better suited to go to this other community. If we got enough people, then that's fine. We'll turn that into a little bit of an evacuation point. It takes a little bit more care, but as far as pre-planning, I think that's not that hard to do. And the other second thing is to up the amounts, to do another review. There are going to be loads to do it because they just did a review and they upped the amounts to $250, but it's still half of what Alberta is. Just something that's correlating. I don't know. The intent of it would be something like, I guess you'd bring two resolutions, okay? I don't want to confuse it all by saying them both together. That the GNWT use multiple evacuation centers in a larger scale disaster in order to better meet the needs of displaced residents. And there could be a few whereases and wherefores after that, right? But the essential thing is, like, some people would much rather go back to what is their maybe place where they were born, where they got family. They know they may be displaced for a period of time. And, you know, if you had 50 people here, like if they had actually said this was an evacuation center, we might have been able to take 50, open up our center and take care of them, take a load off somewhere else, right? It's still the government's going to pay. Whether they're paying it in Yellowknife or here, it's just a little bit better for the people that do want to come here. If that's possible. Maybe in like all cases it's not, but this would be just take a look at it so that your planning departments can consider this. Does somebody want to move that and second it? It'd be for the NWTAC, right? Okay. I think it has to be fleshed out a bit. Maybe Kevin can write up the whereases in 2 folders and we could give a final okay to that. But this will be like the start of it. And we'll try to get it into the NWTAC, even though it might be past their deadline a little bit. But I'm sure they don't have anything like this on their resolutions book. Okay. Any seconders?
I'll say.
Okay. Okay. Any further discussion? This is just, they consider multiple evacuation centers in a larger scale disaster in order to better meet the needs of the displaced people. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, any abstentions? Any votes? Abstain, 1 abstain. Any against? Okay. You know what, we should bring back, because I think the discussion about the hotels itself are gone, right? We've dealt with that. We actually moved on to this thing as a result of the discussion that we had, but it's a new item, right? Can I get?
Still just unclear, or have we said no to the?
Yeah, are we, I'm unclear.
I
Okay.
know some of us that originally were saying kind of.
Okay, well, what are we gonna agree to then, or not agree to, as the case may be? Are we agreeing to set some limits for a couple days, or?
I'm agreeing to 1 night for me personally. If we had to, I think because we have family, I mean, the 80-year-old elderly, I hope she has family here and they would take her in because she would, whoever that person is, best be off with family than a hotel room. Yeah.
And can we get Kevin to do a little more digging to find out just exactly the numbers too?
Do we need to though, or is it, nobody's requesting, that's I like James' idea, we approach the Red Cross if we have more than,
That's part of, I guess, information for us that we,
Yeah.
You know, it's important to note too that, you know, this sitting territorial government rejected an MOU with the Red Cross for situations just like this.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a huge disappointment, considering that the Red Cross has done so much for so many people, given the reality that we're going through, all of these climate impacts in the last handful of years. It doesn't look like it's going to get any better. So I really don't understand how the government can just reject an MOU with the Red Cross when they've done so much for a lot of people. It's disappointing.
Yeah. So we could certainly check up with them, see what is possible. And because I think the numbers are relatively small right now for Fort Simpson, we could probably look at doing a few things, but can we at least do, well, maybe we should just wait till we get more information, starting tomorrow.
I think we need to get more information.
Should we can do another mail thing if we get more information and let everybody know what's going on here? How about that? Because we really didn't get anybody requesting the hotel room today.
well, that's good, don't put it out there.
Advertise
No.
it.
No, but I think there were requests, though. They'll be looking for some kind of answers as to what if anything we could do.
Yes,
I like,
I think
Some
our
of the ideas here,
LPFN
but-
and I think our Métis local too have some sort of funds through their bingo to relieve things, so.
yeah,
that
there's
might- that
different
might work
groups
as well.
and things
Instead
that,
of taking out of our donation budget.
Yeah,
I think we should also reach out to LKFN.
Yeah.
There are LKFN members that, and there is a possibility
Yeah.
that families could stay at the camp at the Moa construction yard.
Mhm. Okay, yeah, SA Quarter.
I know there are some folks that are waiting to see how council decides this. And we'll be requesting hotel rooms tomorrow, or something, or some kind of assistance. So I know that's coming. I know there'll be requests for at least 2 or 3 bedrooms and or cots in the gymnasium. So if council can come to a consensus, I would like a
Either make your
resolution.
job easier.
I would like a resolution on
Okay.
Well, why don't we just say something like that sets a limit here, like, let's say we can do up to 5 rooms for a couple nights. Let the SAO try to get the best rates or wherever he can. In the meantime, it gets
Do you have
people,
5 rooms? You need 5 people have asked you for rooms?
you think there may be up to that many or less right now?
I think 2 or 3 that I know of for sure.
Just
I
in
don't-
case there's.
And I
don't
think
know.
we do a limit on it. I think you check for the best rate. You check for the best rate and we do a limit. Because I don't think we should set a precedent. I agree with Councilor Hardesty on that.
I think too, like, if there are hotels in Yellowknife and Fort Smith that are offering rooms at $44 a night, and if people are coming here, like whoever it was that said it, maybe we offer them a way to get to Yellowknife to these locations. If they come here because their family is here, well then, their family should be able to support them. If they've come here for family, then family should be there for them. I think anyway, that's, my point.
And like James said, if they can use the camp on the hill, or they can stay in the shelter, if we're offering a solution. It's like,
Yes.
Here's what we have, it might not be what you want, but
Exactly.
in an emergency, we take what we can get.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's, if the shelter is what we have for our residents that need a place to go, I don't see why it's not acceptable. You know, I mean, if you have little children, maybe you don't stay there, but then Yellowknife would be an option, and we can look at.
And we look at something else.
Well, especially if there's only 2 to 3 rooms needed, I'm sure we can accommodate them elsewhere at this time. Be it that camp or the rec center, like I'm sure that there can be some agreement again, like an accommodation involves both parties being flexible. They're not gonna be able to come here and get like, a state of the art, everything that they need handed to them. Like there's gotta be some level of flexibility on each person's side here. So they need a place to stay, we can provide them a place to stay. It may not be no place with the bells and whistles like they're expecting, but it's a bed and it's in a safe space.
Well, can we, because we'll never explore all the options, can we just leave it with the SAO to try to figure out the best way to accommodate these people temporarily for a couple of days? If it turns out it's a couple of hotel rooms, well, then whatever, we'll have to think about that if it goes beyond a couple of days. But if it's something else that's better, we'll contact a few of these groups and see what's possible as well. Just, it's a bit of a, we're emergency services now for no backup, no help with the territorial government, I guess. But yeah, we
But
could
we're
ask
not
it.
emergency services,
No,
And there is backup available.
I'll make a bet.
and there is backup available.
I'll make a bet that if we call the territorial government, we say, we've got some people that took the wrong turn and ended up in Fort Simpson instead of going to Yellowknife, can we get them to Yellowknife? I bet the answer will be no. They'd be perfectly happy to leave them stranded in Fort Simpson.
Yeah, but
And
that's
that unfortunately is not something I like to
not our
see.
issue.
Well, it is because they're born here.
Well,
And they
then-
live here and they have relatives here.
Oh, well,
And if
that's
you
so
want-
different then, that's such a different case, like,
Well,
You didn't say they were born here.
and
some of them are.
relatives here, then,
Some
yeah,
of
then
them-
their membership should be able to help, the membership should be
Some
able
of
to.
them are
help as
Métis,
well.
some of them are perhaps LKFM.
Yeah.
That's where we check to the other partner.
But
Yeah.
I hate it when everybody points that someone else should take care of somebody and nobody ever wants to put anything in, right? I mean, if that's the way we were gonna get treated during the flood, I guess we would have got nothing. Because why did anybody have to help us?
I don't think it's that anyone's saying no one's willing to help at this
Yeah.
point. I think if there is a motion that needs to be put, we should do it now.
Okay, the wording which will say what exactly, can you get that on there? I'm just trying to get the consensus
Or
around what,
want to wait to see if
I think
the
we
camp
would,
is available.
rather than bring alternatives, see how much space there is at the shelter, and these people need to know by tomorrow, we can get back through email chain tomorrow after we find out what else is available.
yeah, that's probably a better way,
Or
'cause
could we be available for a fast lunchtime meeting or something, like a 5-minute
if
meeting?
we have another meeting, that's $1,000, and then I'll
Yeah,
just
I
give
don't
them
think- I don't-
$1,000.
Quick email. I think-
Yeah, I think
Just
a
an
quick email,
Yeah.
I think,
Discuss it all.
yeah, I think we're done, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
it's out there.
Get the information and see what our options are, and make it.
Yeah, well, make that, then just recommend a couple things, right?
Yeah.
So we can go with whatever. There's a lot of good ideas around the table, so I think.
Just to confirm, we're not approving any expenditures right now.
Not right at the moment, though. But we're looking to hear back some more information, I guess. Not that we can't do anything, but let's just see what else is out there. All right, so this resolution, okay, now I'm gonna, so if we're done with that one, I'll call Councillor Hassan back here for a second, okay? What?
Almost like your communities, you have emergency
Come on back in.
areas. Nowadays,
The emergency areas are Yellowknife, where they have the hotels, they have everything, like.
outside.
So we had fire burning all winter around
All right.
checkpoint, that could very well flare up again, and then we could be isolated.
Yeah, well, all right, yeah. We called you back in because the other discussion's over, but something that came about that's unrelated to hotel rooms or any of that is a motion that we would like to potentially put in front of the NWTAC. It's concerning their emergency planning and how they go about it. And we've got a motion moved by Councillor Bellefontaine, seconded by Deputy Mayor Tetzel, that the GNWT use or consider using multiple evacuation centers in a larger scale disaster in order to better meet the needs of the displaced evacuees. And that could be like a few whereases and what have you that add in, like certain people have more relatives in other communities, social supports, and they may want to go to different communities. And if there's enough of them, then, you know, they should be taken a look at rather than just saying 3,000 people from Hay River should go to Yellowknife. I'm sure there's actually not room for them. If the town actually totally burned, they wouldn't all be able to accommodate them there, but just the fact they would automatically go to that is something I would like them to consider as, you know, there are other options. And it doesn't matter, disasters are expensive, so, and in the end, federal government pays for it all. That's the part, don't forget. It doesn't matter that it's cheaper to do it in Yellowknife. The federal government pays for it all.
Okay, do the
Okay.
motion, you know
So that's it.
your feelings around this.
Okay, so that's the motion, and any further discussion on this particular, what we'll put in front of the NWTAC. Yes, Councillor Hassan.
Thank you. You know, if there is any problem here, how can we tell the GNWT, oh, you know, if there's any problem, we want you to evacuate people either with the ferry or the plane or with whatever. This motion doesn't have any value for me. It doesn't have anything. It doesn't have what's the purpose of the motion.
Well, that's why it's gonna have a little more background on this, but the intent is that, like just what happened in Hay River, I'm sure there's 50 people in Hay River that if they had to evacuate 50 to 100, that probably have closer connections to Fort Simpson than they do to Yellowknife, for example. They would prefer to come here, and if there was an evacuation center set here, they might come here rather than go to Yellowknife. That's all it is. It's just for the well-being of the evacuees, nothing to do with what we want. It's just what would be better for the evacuees. And if the host communities were able to do it, like, I mean, that would be the thing, right? Just like in any disaster, we get asked, can you open your facilities? We would still have the option to say, no, we can't do it, but is that your concern or?
Okay. So,
Okay. I know it's just a small piece of the puzzle kind of thing, but. All right, all those in favor of advocating for this through the NWTAC? Yeah.
Just, is there some flexibility, written into this resolution? So that administration can alter it for, you know, Territory Association of Communities?
Yeah, I know they wanted a certain format. I think the general intent is there. I think, again, an email around to say, well, is this still what the council approved? Because it's gonna have to be added to, is that fine?
Yeah.
Everybody would be good with that? Okay, you'll still see a final draft before it goes
Yeah, I don't think it should read multiple either.
Yeah, consider,
I think our SAO can do some
yeah,
good work on the word.
yeah, just giving evacuees potential choices if there's enough of them needed.
Yeah.
Or, you know, based on family connections and things. Okay, all those in favor of this motion?
Did we already vote on this one?
Don't think so, no, no.
What did we vote on?
What was the first one then that we voted
I'm
on?
pretty sure it was,
Did you? I
Four,
didn't
there was
count
four,
them.
four, and one abstention.
Okay, oh yeah, okay, so 4, 1, and 1. 1 against, 1 abstained, and 4.
I don't know, you called the question.
That's good.
He wasn't here, that's the problem. That's why I had to go up
I don't
and get
think there was anyone against. You
No.
abstained. didn't
I
you?
abstained.
Yeah,
him. Okay, what's your vote on it? Abstained. Was there one against here?
no.
So, 1 abstained,
Call the vote again.
yeah, just to be sure, right? Okay, those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Against, abstained.
Abstained.
Oh, so there's 2 abstains. Okay, so then there must be only 4 votes for. Okay. All right, got it. Then, the one other one, this one's like a bigger concern, I guess, for the welfare of entire communities, that GMWT conduct another review of its disaster assistance policy. And create, what would you say,
I didn't know we were doing another motion.
yeah, this one is to basically have the disaster assistance, mirror the Alberta one in the amounts that are payable in the event of a disaster.
I would like more discussion on that and more, instead of just doing the motion.
Right.
I think that's just something that we just start talking about.
Maybe it
Okay.
can be brought up as a discussion
Yeah.
conversation at the actual meeting.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll talk about it anyway, but I always do. It's just in the territories we're shortchanged, because just wait till your house burns down and you find out you only get $250, then, you know, everybody wondering, well, gee, Sean, why didn't we ask for 500,000? Why are we stuck with this? And the feds would have paid it. This is the sad part. I don't think people really get told all the facts. And, you know, I can say them, but doesn't mean everybody believes me either, so there you go. So now, where are we on the agenda?
12 bylaws.
Unless there are none tonight, correspondence and information, we don't have any. Council matters and concerns, so, all right. Council Wright, do you have anything, council issues or concerns, something that hasn't been talked about?
When we went through that budget earlier, I was just wondering,
Okay.
when are we gonna do our financial audit for last year?
Is it already done?
We have the draft, it's just little things that have been tidied up in the past few weeks. They've indicated their draft for council should be ready early June.
Early June?
Yeah, so that's all you wanted to talk about? For now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor Tetzel,
I have no concern with this.
Councilor Hardesty, any issues or concerns?
Yeah, I just got one that maybe we can bring it to the table for next meeting. I'm just wondering, I really think that we should put a four-way stop at this stop here in town we've got the nurses walking back and forth. There's no sidewalks on this part of the road. The nurses are walking 2 by 2. You can't fit 2 cars down the road. With the hospital, the fire, and the increased traffic because of this building, I do think that a four-way stop at this location right in the center of town is beneficial. Just a comment.
I get rid of the one on the back road. 'Cause that
Yeah,
one's
those are going
useless.
back to speed bumps.
I know, it's useless anyway, having it, Daycare don't care on back roads. Daycare kids don't get out on back.
Okay.
I heard a comment a couple weeks ago that this community has the most signs in all of the NWT road signs.
I bet.
Yeah. But,
That's a good one.
okay, so you're kind of agreeing with that one. Do you have any other issues?
Me, I don't know.
Okay, Councilor Wright.
On Stephanie's or not motion, but can we put one of those flashing lights so that somebody can just push a button so that we're not stopping there all the time?
Also like a blown street light or a crosswalk.
Same crosswalk.
Another crosswalk, yeah.
Put one of those
That
there,
seemed to work
that
well.
way we don't have a four-way stop in the middle of town,
Yeah.
right? It's
Some-
only-
some-
There is a lot of, there is a lot of traffic around here in the
Yeah.
morning time with everyone coming
Yeah,
in.
but
It's not even
if
just
you're
the
walking,
walking,
if
it's
you're
the
walking
cars
across,
too.
just, right, everybody driving should know how to know the rules of the road. But if we put the flashing light, because everybody stops when that light's flashing down there.
Yeah, well, with the new building and all the people coming in and out of here, it does seem like it's gonna be a busier place, right? The hospital here, the manor. It's, probably is a good safety consideration. Maybe we'll put this over to our Public Works Committee or something and get a little bit more information on costs and options and things. Get some input from Mitch, Public Works Department, see what can be done. But yeah, that's a good idea. Councilor Bellefontaine?
No concerns, I'm just happy to see the weather's nice here, we got lots of green out there, people seem happy. Haven't heard too much complaining lately, so.
You haven't been listening to me? Okay, very good. And Councilor Hassan? Any council issues?
Thank you. Yeah, I do have one, which is, can I have like 3 minutes? Or 5 minutes?
5.
Yeah.
We'll try to make it shorter, but
Okay. You know, honestly, I'm not looking for sympathy here in this council because I know you won't give. And if you are sick, you cannot heal. I've been a counselor this is my 3rd term. If we as counselors, we don't see what's going on in the world, that means we are isolated from the world. If we don't see what's going on around us, that means we are isolated. And in fact, it's been like 1 month right now, and my family is being in the war zone under the shooting of the rebels and the government people. So, in fact, no one of this council, no one of these members here ever came and asked me how I'm doing or how my family is doing. And that's really, really sad. With people who they don't care, people who really make me feel like, I don't know. One of the councillors, I believe that was Councillor Wright, mentioned that when the dogs have more rights here more than humans. And I really realized that dogs have rights and have care more than humans. And we live in the land here. We don't know what are the dilemmas. If we know the dilemma which we always talk about, we will find that we should care for each other. We don't know, honestly, we don't know each other. We just fight, we just argue, and we don't care, honestly. And this is the feeling I get that I don't know if I'm in the wrong place or before I immigrated to Canada, I'm not an ignorant person. I educated myself. I went to school. I did my university education. I've been working in the humanitarian field all my life. I've been in war zone. I've been in killing areas. I've been in a lot of problems. I've been in so many disasters. I've been hostage twice in my life. One day from Somalia, I left Somalia with 1 pair of shoes and no money and no bag. Still, I move on in my life, and it's a trauma. That's life. It did not hurt me as much as it hurt me that for Simpson here with people who care about so many small things, and it doesn't mean that people they don't listen to the media or they don't follow the media. If I put a post on Facebook, oh, I'm enjoying my breakfast omelet, I'm gonna find like 300 likes from here. But no one ever from this council came and asked me how I'm doing. But I'm gonna tell you guys something. This is how I'm doing. I lost my sick. I lost anyway. I'm gonna leave the town here probably soon and see where my family is. And, so. Okay.
Well, yeah, I think a lot of times people, they do have concerns, Councillor Hassan, they do worry about other people, they don't always voice it, but, you know, sympathies to you for any losses you may have had.
Mr. Mayor, you know, here I'm gonna stop you. You know what that means? Doesn't mean that people they don't ask. I go to school, the kids ask me. The chief asked me. He doesn't sit with me in the council chamber. The chief asked me. The MP called me a few times. Even the MLA came to me and asked me. But you know, those are not the people who I deal with every day. Those are not the people whom I see. Those are not the people whom I read. I don't live with Shane Thompson in your life. I live here with Les Ride, with you guys here in Port Simpson. Whatever affect you guys here, affect me. So I just lost to have that sense of that feeling, honestly.
Yeah, okay. I think, yeah, it's a tough time, and we only hope the best for you and your family there. So, all right, well, let's go on to this in-camera stuff. We've got three issues. So I'm gonna have to ask Eddie to say goodnight. And we'll adjourn to going to our in-camera session. I've got a motion moved by Councillor Bellefontaine, seconded by Councillor Wright, that council move in camera at 8:38
Listen anytime.
p.m. All those in favor, but I gotta take a roll call. Sorry. Okay, Deputy Mayor Tetzel?
Here.
Okay. Councillor Wright, are you for going in camera? Councillor Browning?
Yeah.
Councillor Hardesty?
Yep.
Councillor LaFontaine? Councillor Simon stepped out, so 5 votes in favor.
So does he have his mouse coming back to in camera?
Who might? I think he just left for a minute to compose himself, I think. All right, so on the 15 legal matter,
Is the camera off?
yeah,